Welcome to the Deconstructing Data podcast and live stream. I'm Jessie Lezak, CMO at BDEX, along with BDEX's founder and CEO, David Finkelstein. What's new, David?
Hey, Jesse. I don't know. It's been a busy week here at BDEX. We're putting out a lot of new code and new product updates coming soon. So stay tuned.
Ooh, good to know. Is this some of the stuff that you've been building?
Yeah, some of the stuff that I've been sort of vibe coding will eventually turn into real products. Yeah. But overall, the team has a bunch of new things that we're working on. So it's exciting.
Exciting. Well, stay tuned for more information on that. But today we have a really great episode planned out for you with another excellent guest. Today we're excited to introduce you to David Hunter. He is the CEO of Local Falcon. Welcome to the show, David.
All right. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, absolutely, David. We are glad to have you on the show, and always nice to have another David on the show. We'd love to have you kick it off and give our viewers and listeners a little background about yourself. Tell us your history and what led you to build Local Falcon.
Sure. So I have been in digital marketing and web development, search optimization for the last 17 years. We are located in the Great Lakes up in Erie, Pennsylvania. And we've got an agency up there that I started with my business partner, Sean. It's pretty traditional digital marketing agency and web development. And so, a couple hundred clients all over the country. There's 15, 20 employees here. And it's been a great business. A couple of years ago, this is about, 2017, 2018, we're sort of realizing that we've got all of these search engine optimization clients, these SEO clients that are focused on their, on their web presence. And they would come to us and say, it's like a candy shop, right? They would say, well, I'm already ranking really well in my area. Why would I need search optimization? And it's like, well, what are you talking about? That didn't make any sense to us. Like, we're looking it up and saying, like, you're not ranking at all. And that happened a couple times until I realized, like, wait a second, you're talking about the Google business profile. You're not referring to traditional organic search. So that presents a very different set of results. It's powered by Google Maps. It's not, it's not regular organic search. And so we saw an opportunity there to help people understand that, like, that stuff works off of proximity. There's other elements to it, prominence and relevance, but where you are standing when you do that search makes a big difference. And so, the idea of Local Falcon came out because we wanted to be able to show that, like, when you're standing on top of your business, you're going to rank really well. When you go, a couple of blocks in the other direction or a couple of miles, that starts to disappear. And so, we basically put this grid pattern over top of your area. And it was like this, every time we would show folks, there'd be like this light bulb moment of, just seeing that, like, oh, it makes so much sense now that, like, on the west side of town or whatever, north of me, south of me, I'm ranking really well, but I'm, a total mess over here on the east side or, in the south side, whatever it might be. And so once once they saw that grid pattern, it was everybody started to, just kind of connect the dots, and it became a lot easier to kind of have the next conversation about what we need to do to strengthen your presence in that area, where we need to invest, where we need to, we're probably back off a little bit, whatever it might be. And that really was basically the birth of Local Falcon at that point. So, from that point on, we've really started to grow. We put it out into the marketplace, and, so it launched in basically December of 2018. And it was great. It got good reception, lots of new accounts, but, we really didn't take it too seriously initially, because it was expensive to run. And so it wasn't really, like, profitable. We'd get users in there, but, it wasn't the most successful. And finally we kind of crossed this threshold, and I, poked my head in there one day and was like, there's like 20,000 users in here, and this thing's growing, and like this, there's something to this. There's, we really just need to get our costs under control. once we did that, we got a lot more excited about the business and started to grow. And today, we've actually just crossed 125,000 users. So we've got quite a number of basically small businesses, agencies, and enterprise brands in there running scans on their businesses every single day, and tons of usage, and it's a great little business.
That's awesome. That's a great journey. And, search has changed so much over the years. I remember, when you used to search in Google, for example, everybody got the same results at the very, early days. And then results started to change based on all kinds of things, based on your prior search, based on your location. Now, AI is changing everything, and AI is changing how the search results look. So that, is really interesting. And I'd love to hear your take on that. That's sort of our first topic, right? Local data in AI. So what can you share with us about this? Where are we going?
Well, it is absolutely an element of the Wild West here. It's like, it feels like the early days of Google search, right? Because I hear about these like little tactics that make me laugh. Like, they're stuff that you would hear about 20, 30 years ago, where you could just put a bunch of keywords on your homepage as hidden white text for a prompt, and it works. Like, you're actually showing up in AI results. It's kind of
the good old days.
Yeah, like it's nuts how that stuff, like, this is like old school spam tactics, right? But like, it's out there. So naturally, of course, we saw this happening a couple of years ago, and we wanted to explore that opportunity, and so very quickly we started basically offering tracking for ChatGPT, and seeing what that would do on a local level. And it's so the comment about like the missing link there, right? There was no local data. There is no real local data inside of AI responses, but there is, that's changed. And OpenAI, Claude, Anthropic, Grok, they're sort of missing the data set that Google has, right? Which is like this very large knowledge graph about basically every business in the world has a profile. Especially any type of brick and mortar business, a business with a physical presence, they're going to have like a Google business profile. None of the other groups have that. And so, you could see them if you ask questions about it on a local, for a local result. If you're looking for a pizza place, it really does struggle to provide an answer to that. Now, that's increased in quality massively over the last year. They've really started to kind of organize the results a little bit better, but it's still not caught up to what Google can provide. And so when you see AI overviews and AI mode, which are Google AI products, the results are a lot stronger, right? And inside of Gemini as well, because they're pulling in or starting to pull in the knowledge graph and the, essentially what we call in the local SEO industry, the map pack, the essentially the top 3 results that show up, those little map pins there. That's basically the beginning of where kind of local search data shows up. Previously, it was really just pulling Yelp listings or bad lists from TripAdvisor or something like that, and then trying to get the trying to provide a logical answer inside of an OpenAI product. It just wasn't possible, but that has absolutely changed. And so we are seeing a lot more usage in that from a local landscape. And what my company does, Local Falcon, I mean, we want to be able to know whether or not those results are truly hyper personalized. And much like, again, a year ago, that was not the case, but we're seeing it far more regularly now, where if you're on one side of town and you ask about pizza restaurants and you go to the other side of town, you're getting 2 very different sets of results in there, which is definitely interesting. I mean, it's still a lot of similarity, a lot of, the proximity is much less of a factor than things like your presence, your reviews, how much, how many sort of authority signals are coming into into your brand, or that your brand is giving off, rather. That stuff really does play a huge role compared to what it what it was before without this stuff, where it was really proximity as the number one factor, and then sort of the relevance and the prominence was a distant second and third.
So interesting. So, and I never thought to try this, to even use like Claude or ChatGPT for local information, like asking, what's the best pizza in town?
Right.
I'm
Meanwhile,
sure,
that's like
really curious now. Like, I want to get on there and check and see what it says.
Yeah, man. It's like the regular Google searches that's like 70% of the searches out, or 50% have what's called local intent on them. So it follows that, like, yeah, you're going to end up talking to ChatGPT about that stuff, because if you're making, I don't know, you've got a exciting dinner coming up and you're in a city you don't know, like, you're probably going to talk to it about that.
Or if you're a vegan and you're traveling, you can go into ChatGPT and say, where are the vegan restaurants? Or if there's not vegan restaurants, which ones do vegans tend to eat at? And ChatGPT will give you the down low.
Yes, it will. And Google's done a great job. They'll tell you about vegan restaurants as well, absolutely. But the way that GPT and Anthropic pull that stuff in, it's got just a different flavor to it. It's exciting, and they seem to, like I said, the proximity becomes less of a factor. So I was trying this in, the small town of Erie, Pennsylvania here, asking about pizza places. And I know what pizza near my house is great, but I still asked anyway. And it was finding stuff from across town. But sure, I know that those places across town, it's more of a drive, but like, that really is the best pizza in town, So like, it's kind of awesome to see kind of a different, just a different set of results there.
Yeah.
Yeah, while you were talking, I literally went on Claude and I asked for the best pizza place and the best breakfast on Sanibel, which is where I live.
Oh, nice.
It actually did a pretty good job. I mean, it listed 2 in both cases, and it was right about one of them on the pizza, and it was right about both of them on the breakfast. So
that's impressive. Yeah. And Sanibel, you guys had like that big hurricane situation not that long ago, right? And so I was certain you were going to tell me like, oh, it was wrong because those places don't exist anymore or something. But
it did list one place that doesn't exist anymore it listed one place that doesn't exist anymore for breakfast. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
It did.
Google probably would do that too, just for the record. Like it's only as good as the data that it's got, right? That's sort of the issue there. But
sure.
Still though, it's the fact that it's got it and it's relatively accurate is a huge step, considering like this stuff did not exist even 2-3 years ago.
So this is all really great. I'm glad that you're bringing up local search, because I don't think people really think about local search with AI. I was going to transition us. It's very similar on the next topic. I mean, it's still on local search. So we were on local data in AI, the missing link. The next one is AI and local search, from data to strategy. So as a marketer, how do we strategize local search for our audience?
So I'm going to give you just some basic outlines here, but anyone that is out there telling you, it's these pillars, this is definitely how you do it, is a snake oil salesman. Nobody actually really knows what the exact steps are that you need to take. This is not like, Google.com, and, the SEO industry has had 25 years of maturity here, 30 years of maturity. The playbook has been pretty much identified. With local SEO, with local AI search, there's a lot of guesswork still going on. So take what I'm saying with a grain of salt, because we have a lot of data on this stuff, and we've been studying it pretty extensively. So I think I've got some ideas, but at the same time, like, it changes very, very regularly. But as I mentioned, the proximity is far less of a factor. So we did like a study on this. We picked something like 60,000 different businesses. We did 70 or so different searches on each one of them. So out of those, 400,000 or so queries we ran, we then put them on like a like a 7x7 grid, so 49 data points, and we started asking questions that would be, of local intent, and we simply wanted to know whether or not the AI overview would show up versus Google Maps would show up, and whether ChatGPT would provide any type of a list versus just giving you a narrative output and not actually mentioning the businesses. And we found that and then from there, we said, okay, well, is it localized? That was really the big question we wanted to know. And that's where I was saying earlier, it's really not as proximity based. Now, there's an element of accuracy with proximity. It still matters, because if I'm looking for, a barber, I don't want, and I'm in New York City, I do not need a hairstylist from Los Angeles. So I need to get some kind of proximity there, but it's not going to be as hyper specific as saying like, oh, well, you're on the Upper West Side, so let me find barbershops from there versus, the Lower East Side. It's definitely not going to do that on OpenAI or Anthropic or Grok or any of the Llama products, which is the Meta AI. Google, however, will do that. It's and that's a relatively new addition to what what basically AI mode, which is Google's sort of latest coming sort of blending of search results and generative AI. That's actually got a location in it for the first time in that I've seen, and that just happened a couple of weeks ago. And I see it kind of coming on and off again. So I can tell you, though, the proximity is less important. It's the prominence and the relevance that do matter. So when I say that, I'm talking about the authority that your brand has. So do you have, do you have a lot of strong backlinks that come into you? Do you have a lot of content on your website that that demonstrates your authority? So are there, if you're a barbershop, do you have some, before and after photos? Do you have a nice rundown about your approach towards, I don't even know, hair coloring or men's haircuts, whatever. So you need to kind of prove your expertise in that space if you want to actually start showing up for that. That's always kind of been true for, well, not always, but in the last, I don't know, 5 or 6 years, it's been true for Google content as well. So there is some overlap, but the level of authority that you need and the importance that it plays in terms of the results has never been, stronger. And so, those type of signals, right? Like I said, backlinks, and then sort of proof through demonstration, really they matter more than ever, and they're going to make a huge difference into whether or not the answers are surfaced. The other thing that happens is within those when I say backlinks, there's places that we're talking about, like results like from different portals, right? So like Reddit, Quora, places like that, you'll find that when you do a search, you're going to get this list of all the different citations that use to pull those answers in, and very frequently it's got Reddit conversations. The other day I found it was mentioning like a TikTok video, some random TikTok video about local ranking, and it was pulling in Local Falcon. So you really want to review those different sources, and then from there it's like, okay, well, if I'm not mentioned in that Reddit thread, how do I get mentioned in there? I mean, jump in there and say something, I suppose. I mean, you got to kind of thread the needle there. You don't want to spam it, and Redditors are not going to be okay with you doing so. So you've got to kind of develop a strategy around that stuff. But you really need to develop an authority in your niche. And once you can do that, we find that you're going to have a little bit more success than your counterparts.
Yeah,
that was a long-winded answer, guys. I'm sorry.
Well, it makes a lot of sense, and it certainly, sort of backs up, what you see in the results. And you can see, especially like in Claude, you can see exactly where where it made the determination of what answer it gave, and all the references. And so you can see in those references, okay, there's, a dozen different places that it saw that this restaurant was mentioned. Well, guess what? If your restaurant's not mentioned in those places, then you have to find a way to do that in order to make sure that you get included next time somebody does a search.
Yes.
In Claude, for example. So Totally makes sense. It's not that different if you really think about it. It's not that different from really what what's important, or what has been important over the years with Google as well. You got to make sure that your company is mentioned and included in all of those sort of authoritative sources that that Google would look at as well.
That's exactly right. Now there is some divergence there. Like I said, I mean, there's certain signals that the search engines use where the AI is simply just not. Like the backlinks. I say backlinking is important, but it's not like where on Google it's like if you got a link from CNN.com about your business or something, like that's gold. Right. That doesn't necessarily matter when it comes to AI search, right? It's more about the context with which the person is doing the search. And then they're going to provide, it provides an answer that is going to be far more relevant to what it is that person's looking for. And it just simply does not care that you showed up on CNN or whatever, right? Like it's going to pull it from just about anywhere. So that presents like a lot of opportunity for businesses to kind of take the space. The key is to really get in there and test it and do these searches and look for your brand. And when you do it, you can't just look for a regular keyword, right? So at Local Falcon, our number one sort of keyword would be local rank tracking, but like no one is going to ChatGPT and just searching local rank tracking. That's ridiculous, right? Mm-hmm. You're looking for your more natural phrases, more natural searches, so that you try to work your way into a conversation. The other thing that's very different is like Google operates on clicks, right? Like who's got the most clicks. A lot of times that kind of provides this signal back that it's a popular system, etc. Well, with AI overviews and ChatGPT, clicks have kind of disappeared. I mean, this is the big kind of complaint that you're hearing from marketers lately, is that I've got tons of impressions now, but I've got no clicks. And the reason for that is because it's answering the question right there. There is no reason to go to your website and dig further. It already did that. So you've got to be aware of that and structure your content accordingly. And so when you're writing that content, you want to write like passages of content. It's not going to benefit you to have just a big wall of text explaining the answer. That's not how AI is going to answer it, and that it's certainly not going to retrieve the information that way. It's getting it in little chunks at a time. And so that's where things like the adding a frequently asked questions to your website, and a lot of them, makes a huge difference, right? So you go into a specific page. I don't know why I'm stuck on barbershops, but let's say you're a barbershop. You want to have a page on men's haircuts. And then from there, you've got to demonstrate the expertise. And so, like I said, some before and after imagery, that helps. But what will be even better is testimonials from happy customers, because that's a passage level text that I can the search can pick up on, and then frequently asked questions, right? So, and if you have a number of those, it becomes a lot easier for the AI to kind of cite that as the answer, and thus pick you up as your barbershop being the one that matters.
That's interesting. I mean, I love what you said about don't just make a blank wall of text. And in my head, I was thinking, yes, that's good for AI and for humans. Actually, humans don't like to read a blank wall of text anyway. So why would you do that anyway?
That's right.
Yeah.
You'd be shocked how many people do, like just blog posts where people just aren't trying, like you got to think through this stuff. And when you make it, you can use basically something called schema markup to help kind of identify what these sections are and what this is about, what the topic is. And when you do something like that, it's not only good for a human, but it's also much easier for the AI crawlers to go in and actually see it. And I will say another sort of big tip would be make sure that the crawlers can actually get there. And this is something that, like, firsthand we saw happening over on the agency side. We've got a firewall company that we use for security. And, up until very recently, basically bots were not great. No one wants a ton of bot traffic on their website or crawlers on their website. Everyone just, okay, we're going to allow Google crawlers, of course, Google, Bing, whatever, they can come. But some sort of unknown crawler or bot, no, thank you. We're going to block that. And that's just what a lot of firewall systems do. And so, I then realized that like our firewall provider was actually blocking all of OpenAI and all of Anthropic from even coming and getting the content on the website. And so you've got to definitely check that and make sure that it can actually find and index your content. And I had done this. I'll tell you what, here's where we went wrong. I did a check on this a couple of years ago. I was like, oh yeah, we're good. I did a ping and yeah, there it is. It can get to it. We basically, from our office, we emulate, we're the OpenAI crawler, which is why, by the way, they get blocked because people can like emulate them and cause problems. But we emulate it and said, okay, go check out localfalcon.com. It's like, yep, I got it. I'm there. When in reality, we had whitelisted our office's IP address. And so, of course, that said it was going to do that. But the reality was, no, it was blocked and shut off. And so, it had been basically blocked for, a year and a half until we noticed it. And luckily, we caught that a while ago and it's all good. But I can imagine that there are many, many, many website owners and business owners out there that are actually blocked by these crawlers and don't realize it. And the crawler will, the AI responses will make you think that it can find you. It may even reference your website, but it's actually just doing a Bing search or a Google search and referencing the search results. And so it didn't actually go and look at your website, which that's basically just blindfolds you completely from those systems. And so you've got to make sure that you've got basically indexable, crawl ready content.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great information for people. I'm glad you shared that. We should jump to our next topic and make sure we have time to get everything in. So I suggest you would lead me to it. So hyperlocal marketing automation. What do you have to say here? What do people have to think about with respect to automation when it comes to local?
Well, you got to be careful with any automation, especially when you're dealing with like the customer, the end user, so but it can be absolutely beneficial to you, especially around things like Google Business Profile. So I can tell you one thing that Google loves is when you as the business owner interact with your customers on Google. And so when you get a review, they want you to respond to the review and they want you to do that in a timely fashion. Whether it's a 5-star review or a 1-star, it does not matter. Just go in there and respond. Show them, basically give Google a signal that you care. And when you do that, they will reward you with more visibility. And so, that can be a kind of a lot of effort when you're dealing with like multi-location businesses. And so now, you can apply some automations around that to have your reviews automatically responded to, right? Within Local Falcon, like I can tell you for sure that like the time of day that you are open is going to affect your visibility. So using some automation in Local Falcon and going and saying, so I want you to scan it 2 times a day, right when we're open and when we're closed. I want you to see the results and compare them. Super important because then you can get a better picture of what your brand looks like both on and off hours. Getting content put up on the web has never been easier from automation, but you've got to be very careful with how you do this. I wholeheartedly do not recommend you using stock imagery or, copy and paste blog stuff. Like you just do not do that. You can use it, automate it to get that initial rough draft, automate it to, handle sort of pre-selected responses, but don't just simply turn it loose and let it give generic responses to everybody. That's not, I do not recommend that. I mean, and put yourself in the shoes of your customer. Would you like to hear a generic, robotic type of response? Probably not. So be careful with how you approach it. But when you bring AI into it, you can use a lot of personalization. It can get really good if you tune it the right way.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, if I'm going on and doing a review and saying that, I had an issue with my server or something, at a pizza place, and the response is thank you for your, whatever, just thank you for your review.
Right. That's not helpful at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
That's
really
good
about
information.
automation. It's about it's about like personalized automation, right? Like you've really got to
Sure.
dig in and do something in a way that's like actually going to be meaningful. The customer should not know that it was a robot that responded to that.
Yeah, for sure.
Would you say it should be personalized and relevant? And like, if so, how do you bring that relevancy in? Because it's so easy to like get a first name merge field, right? So
Sure.
to me, that's personalization. So how do we make it relevant to them?
Well, that's where you use the AI. I want it to like, fully understand what the review said. So if David had a problem with his server at the pizza shop, well, then like address that specifically. Like, oh, David, so now there's my merge field, but David, I'm really sorry that your experience with Frank, our server, didn't go so well. I'd love it if you stopped back in. We've got a discount for you or something like that. Anything that you can do to kind of make it more, even stating back stuff that was the details of the review, right? So maybe he said, I was there on Monday, and it's like, oh yeah, Frank does work Mondays. I mean, just let the robot kind of handle that. Let it use the context that it can understand, and then dump that in as part of the response.
Yeah.
Makes me feel a little nervous. Like, if I'm the CMO that's releasing this bot that's going to reply to all the reviews, how do I know, like, what happens? Or are there some horror stories about like the bot replied to a review and it didn't go well?
I'm sure that happens, right? That can happen, but if you're doing it the right way, you've got those guardrails kind of in place, right? So a lot of times I'll tell people, look, don't allow a response on 1 or 2 stars. Don't do it. Just you make sure those get flagged, and you have to go do that yourself. Whereas the 4 and 5 stars, there's a little bit more padding there, like you're going to be okay. But yeah, you've got to this is where you've got to use good prompting and set up guardrails so that you make sure. And you theoretically, your business, and so you'll know what to say, what not to say, what to avoid. Like, oh, don't ever bring up Frank. Like maybe you should tell it to not do that because like Frank's constantly a problem. I don't know for sure. And I'll tell you what else we've got, not to like preach on my system, but in Local Falcon we've got this thing called a reviews analysis tool where you go in, you add your business, and you add your 2 or 3 competitors, and it will go through every review that's ever been written about you and the competitors, and then start basically build an entire library and give you essentially this like strengths and weaknesses document. It's like a deep research, but more focused on the reviews only, and kind of hyper specific, and start telling you certain areas that you can probably do better in your business, or areas where you could like that you are doing really well. You could basically take that document and make that part of your guardrails for what you would allow the robot to respond with.
Yeah,
That's pretty smart.
Yeah, that's very cool.
And I think it's a good point to pick out the 1 or 2 stars and let a human handle those. I mean, I think that would make me feel more confident as a CMO with that idea to let that go live, because that would be my fear is maybe Frank generated some 1-star review and, we got someone's name wrong and the merge field messed up, and then, blah, 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 like just sounds like a disaster.
I'll tell you what, it's pretty good though. Like when you add these newer models to it, like it knows that you are the business and what it's trying to do. It knows that you're trying to respond to reviews and keep people happy. So it's probably going to get it right. I would say like, I would lead with like allowing it to do this, and then the first time it messes up, then maybe pull it back, because I think you'll be pleasantly surprised to see like how well it can handle this stuff.
And I think this is just a really great time to remind everyone that garbage in, garbage out. Like if this is deconstructing data. So if your data is messy, then your automation is going to be messy. So, I mean, that's exactly what BDEX can help you with, are those merge fields right there. So it's just like top of mind, like have your data correct.
Yeah, and if you've got weird responses in the AI overviews, right? Same exact thing. It's like, oh, some random Reddit post keeps getting pulled in. Well, go in there and like overwrite that. Get another Reddit post that's going to overtake it, right? You've got to make sure that you're sort of policing the sources that are being pulled in.
Definitely. Well, we could probably talk about this all day long, but let's nerd out on tech stack, if you will. So what are some of your favorite tools in your tech stack, David Hunter?
Okay, so I've said the phrases a whole bunch of times, but there is without a doubt ChatGPT o3. That's about that's my go-to kind of ChatGPT, my AI model. That Gemini 2.5 Pro, I highly recommend paying the $20 or whatever they want. And then Anthropic, right? The Claude Pro account, another one absolutely worth the money. So, I use sort of all three flagship AIs. I'm not as much of a Grok or a Meta Llama user, but I use them absolutely every single day. And they've become like just a hugely important part of my day-to-day and the business. Of course, I mean, I got to mention Local Falcon. Not only do we have it, but we use it at the agency on a daily basis. And then, as far as like just business tools, we live inside of Slack. I don't think I could work without it. I've got, 2 companies and 2 different workspaces, and I'm in there on a very, very regular basis inside of Slack. Google Workspace, I'm a big fan of that. I think that it's got kind of the most flexibility and it's like just a simple, easy to use system. And I will say, I kind of got rid of our CRMs. I used to use HubSpot, and no offense against HubSpot. I love HubSpot. It's just like square peg in a round hole when you're running a B2B SaaS in a lot of ways. And so I actually replaced it with basically just Intercom, the live chat tool, which is far more than a live chat. It's got, I just couldn't believe they've got like this plan for startups. It's like, I don't know, $65 or $100 a month. It's very low cost. It's got the live chat so that you could put humans on there, but they've got all of these other sort of AI overview, AI interface stuff that you can do so that you can have a robot kind of hand it off to a human. And that's kind of neat. So I love Intercom. And then the other piece we used was SendGrid. I mean, SendGrid Twilio, that's basically handles our transactional emails and gets stuff out the door from that perspective, and like vastly less expensive than sort of a CRM system. It does take a little bit of technical know-how to kind of, if you're doing sort of transactional like emails, you've got to get the APIs kind of set up, whatever, but totally affordable, easy to use system once you've got it all dialed. So that's kind of my favorite tech stack, I would say.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's a lot of good stuff. And Intercom, I'm going to look at that. I hadn't used that before.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's there's lots of live chat tools out there, but like this one, it just blew me away because on top of that, I mean, we've got lots of engineers that do work on the system all the time. And then I've got like myself and our like marketing guy, the sales guys, the strategy guys. They do not want to wait for engineering to go put some like message on the website. They want to put up a flag. They want to put a pop-up here or say something over there. Well, now with Intercom, you can do that. You can basically just like, you do not need any type of developers. You can kind of just like drop that in and it just works with the system. It's awesome.
That's amazing. And I'm sure that it's much more budget friendly than what you were doing before as well.
Yeah. I mean, HubSpot, I think we were north of $5,000 a month. Our Intercom bill. So we were on the startup program. It was literally like $65 a month. That expired like after a year or something, or, so now it's, it's more, but I think it was like $240 or something. And then like the SendGrid is another, I don't know, $200, something like that. That's usage based, but when you're using APIs, it's very inexpensive. I mean, I think we're doing the whole thing. Yeah, it's probably $500 a month compared to the 5,000 we were at with HubSpot. So
yeah, that's a lot.
No offense. Like I said, HubSpot's awesome. Like it's got super cool features. It's like amazing from a sales perspective, what it can do. But when it's a B2B, like us, a B2B SaaS for, enterprise and agency search optimization, it just doesn't fit. It's just not as necessary to have that type of functionality that's in there. We don't have like a whole team of salespeople here. We just don't do that. So.
Yeah. You don't need to when your SEO is so good, right?
Yeah, it's all, yes, that product-led growth. That's kind of how we do it. Like we just
Yeah.
let you come in and explore and mess around, and it's generally, it's free for a while. And, we do credit-based stuff. So you could theoretically, never have to pay if you conserve your credits, but that's silly. Like, don't do that.
That's interesting. Well, in closing, David, would you like to tell listeners know how they can find you?
Sure. So you can find me mostly on LinkedIn. I would say I'm definitely on there more than in other places. If you're looking for Local Falcon, you can find us, localfalcon.com, but also TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook. We're on all the, Instagram, wherever it is. Just look us up, shoot us a message. We have like real humans that are paying attention to this stuff, and we will absolutely get back to you.
Sounds
Nice.
good, David. Yeah, this has been a great conversation. Really appreciate you joining us today, and sharing.
Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, sharing all your experience and knowledge has been great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I'm going to let Jesse close it out for us then.
Great.
And I will do that. I'm going to put the QR code up on the screen for those of you watching on video. But if you are on podcast, just go to bedex.com and click on Talk to an Expert to see where this QR code takes you. But audience members, we really just want to invite you to, well, let's say, clean up your data, have good data based on what we were talking about today. You don't want to have an automation running with bad data. But we want to invite you to get powered by Bedex. And Bedex's comprehensive identity graph is enabling people to build audiences that actually reach real people with the right name and turns their anonymous website visitors into real actionable customer insights. So we're helping people save money by cleaning up their data. No more bots, no more click farms. I mean, you would be surprised how much bad data is out there, and it's wasting your marketing budget. So, and probably making a lot of people angry, especially if you have reviews running and automations running. I mean, you want to have your data right. But whether you're struggling with, cart abandonment, poor targeting, bad names on your personalized reviews, or just declining performance in general, we deliver the most accurate identity resolution and customer audiences in the industry, and we're driving measurable ROI. So just visit bedex.com. You'll see all the logos on there with other businesses that we're working with, and click on Talk to an Expert and connect with our team, and we want to help you get your data in order as well. But until then, we will see you next week. And thanks again for joining us, David Hunter.
Thanks so much again for having me. I appreciate it, guys. It was great.
Absolutely.
Thanks, David.
Bye.
Bye-bye.